Robert Bergman, and you're watching GVTV News.
Thanks, Robert, and I'm Randy Hansen. In World News headlines today, Obama unveils new plan to help underwater homeowners refinance, and chemical bomb thrown into occupied Maine encampment, and 23 arrested at occupied Dallas protest outside Chase Bank. And Albany police defy New York governor and refuse to arrest protesters. And Occupy Chicago protesters and nurses rally at City Hall. And police raid Occupy Oakland encampment. And Gaddafi reportedly buried in the desert despite questions over his death. And moderate Islamic Party expected to win Tunisian election. And death toll from Turkish earthquake reaches 366. And Turkish tanks enter northern Iraq to attack Kurds. And WikiLeaks may be forced to close down due to financial blockage. And bombings hit Nairobi a week after Kenyan invasion of Somalia. And a report says U.S. has built secret network on informants in Mexico. And Nebraska lawmakers to hold special sessions over Keystone Pipeline. And Obama campaign hires former Keystone XL pipeline lobbyist for 2012 campaign. And Syracuse bans natural gas hydro fracking. And judge blocks mandatory drug testing for welfare recipients. And Rick Perry questions the legitimacy of Obama's birth certificate. But before these stories, GVTV News would like to thank one of our underwriters who supports your only visual video news media in Nevada County. That's right, it's us, GVTV News. In today's first World News story, President Obama unveiled a new plan Monday to help U.S. homeowners who owe more than their properties are worth. Speaking in Las Vegas, Obama said the change would make it easier for many homeowners to refinance their loans. And he said, number one, the barrier will be lifted that prohibits responsible homeowners from refinancing if their home values have fallen so low that what they owe on their mortgage is 25% higher than the current value of their home. And this is critically important for a place like Las Vegas, where home values have fallen by more than 50% over the past 5 years. Second, there's going to be lower closing costs, and certain refinancing fees will be eliminated. Fees that can sometimes cancel out the benefits of refinancing altogether. So people don't bother to refinance because they've got all these fees that they have to pay. Well, we're going to try to knock away some of those fees. So please, vote for me. No, actually, I added that last sentence. Analysis predictive change will help about 1 million homeowners, just a fraction of the country's 11 million underwater borrowers. The Huffington Post reports one of the program's new terms will benefit private sector Wall Street banks, potentially at the expense of taxpayers. Helping Wall Street. Protesters at Occupy Maine in Portland were attacked on Sunday morning when a chemical bomb was thrown into an encampment. Police said the homemade bomb, made up of chemicals poured into a plastic Gatorade container, could have caused serious injuries. In Texas, 23 activists of Occupy Dallas were arrested Monday for blocking the entrance to a Chase Bank, while other activists attempted to close their Chase accounts. And in Albany, New York, Protesters are continuing to camp across the street from the New York State Capitol. On Sunday, local police refused to remove protesters from a park in defiance of Governor Andrew Cuomo and the city mayor. One police official said, "These people are not causing trouble. Bottom line is the police know policing, not the governor and not the mayor." In Illinois, members of the Occupy Chicago and groups of nurse protested outside City Hall and the offices of Rahm Emanuel, the mayor, on Monday, one day after Chicago police arrested 130, including many nurses at Occupy Chicago in Grant Park. And Oakland police are threatening to raid Occupy Oakland. A tweet by the protest group posted just before, well, this is another report out of Democracy Now! They were surrounded by fire and flash grenades, things like that. Oakland police stormed the Oakland Occupy protest encampment outside City Hall just before 5 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Police lobbed flash grenades and tear gas. Initial report says 70% of the people arrested, and police tore apart the protest camp. Bodies of ex-Libyan leader Colonel Muammar Gaddafi, his son Mutassim, and top aide were reportedly buried in secret this morning in the desert, where this was yesterday morning. Meanwhile, calls are growing for the Libyan government to mount an investigation into Gaddafi's death. A new video posted on the website Global Post appears to show one of Gaddafi's captors attempting to sodomize him with a knife shortly before he was killed. And Fred Abrams, special advisor for Human Rights Watch, said, I think an investigation into Gaddafi's death is critical for two reasons. Okay, the first is that you don't do it, it sends a message that Libyans can take, if you don't do it, sends a message Libyans can take justice into their own hands. It's not just about Gaddafi, but about all the people who collaborated and have blood on their hands for 42 years. You don't want to send a message that even a local neighborhood spy can be treated in this way. And the second reason is about reining in militias. You've got hundreds of armed groups and local militias around Libya now, and if you don't begin to investigate this case, it sends a message that they can operate with impunity, and that is extremely dangerous. The armed conflict in Libya is now done, and this is time for using guns is over. It's time to start creating civilian control and authority and building it with the law. Human Rights Watch is also calling on Libya's new government to secure the nation's weapons facilities. The group said it recently discovered 2 unguarded sites near Sirte that contained surface-to-air missiles, tanks and mortar rounds, large number of munitions, and thousands of guided and unguided aerial weapons. Isn't that nice? A moderate Islamic party is expected to be the winner of the Tunisia free election, its first one. The Ennahda Party, an official tally shows it's won Sunday's vote, the first since Arab Spring's popular uprising, which began in Tunisia, spread through the region. Party officials say that they are prepared to form an alliance with 2 secularist parties. In Turkey, the death toll of Sunday's earthquake has reached 366. Tens of thousands of people left homeless. Rescue workers are still digging into collapsed buildings in a battle against time to find survivors. And as that's going on, Turkish tanks and armored vehicles have reportedly crossed into the northern Iraq as Turkey expands its offensive against the Kurdistan Worker Party, or the PKK. The move comes a week after multiple attacks by Kurdish forces left 26 Turkish soldiers dead and 22 others wounded. And WikiLeaks has been in the news for a while. Founder, Julian Assange, said Monday that his website is temporarily stopping publishing new documents and may soon be forced to shut down due to funding problems. Assange accused MasterCard, Visa, PayPal, Bank of America, and others blocking donations to WikiLeaks for nearly a year. And he said, since the 7th of December 2010, an arbitrary and unlawful financial blockage imposed by the Bank of America, Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, and Western Union has destroyed 95% of our revenue. In order to ensure our future survival, WikiLeaks is now forced to temporarily suspend all publishing operations in order to direct all of our resources into fighting the blockage and raising funds. Assange criticizes financial service companies for targeting WikiLeaks, even though the company has never been charged with a crime. And he also said, as a result, WikiLeaks has been running on cash reserves for the last 11 months. Blockade has cost the organization tens of millions of dollars in lost donations at a time of unprecedented cost resulting from publishing alliances in over 50 countries. with over 90 media and human rights organizations. Our scarce resources now must focus entirely on fighting this unlawful financial blockage. In news from Africa, a pair of bombings hit the Kenyan capital of Nairobi on Monday. 12 people were injured when a grenade was thrown into a bar in the downtown area. Hours later, an explosion at a bus station killed one person and injured 8 others. Attacks come a week after Kenyan troops invaded southern Somalia. And the New York Times reported U.S. law enforcement agencies have secretly built up networks of Mexican informants that have allowed them to secretly infiltrate some of the country's most powerful criminal organizations. Typically, Mexico is kept in the dark about the United States' actions inside Mexico with its most secretive informants. The U.S. informants have reportedly helped Mexican authorities capture or kill about 24 high-ranking and mid-level drug traffickers. In addition, the informants have sometimes given American counter-narcotics agents access to top leaders of the cartel they're trying to dismantle, as they're selling guns to them. Republican Nebraskan Governor David Henneman has called on the state legislature into special session next week to address growing concerns over the proposed Keystone XL tar sands pipeline. Opposition to the pipeline has been growing in Nebraska, in part because TransCanada wants to run a pipeline through the sensitive Sand Hills region over the Aguala aquifer. The Obama administration is expected to make a decision on the proposed Keystone XL tar sands pipeline this year. Meanwhile, environmentalists are criticizing Obama for hiring a former TransCanada pipeline lobbyist as a senior advisor to his 2012 re-election campaign. Broderick Johnson lobbied Congress when he was an employee of the firm Byron Cave. Johnson is also the husband of National Public Radio's Michelle Norris. Norris announced on Monday she will step down from her hosting duties as host of All Things Considered while her husband works for the campaign. Syracuse has become the 3rd New York city to ban natural gas drilling processes known as hydraulic fracking. Albany and Buffalo have already banned fracking. A federal judge has blocked a new Florida law requiring recipients of welfare benefits to pass a drug test. Judge Mary Shriven ruled that law may violate the Constitution's protection against unreasonable searches and seizures. And in political news, Republican presidential hopeful Governor Perry is scheduled to unveil his proposal to reform the tax code by giving taxpayers an option to pay taxes under the current code or pay a 20% flat tax. Under a flat tax model, poor and middle-income people will pay a larger share of their income than they do at present. Meanwhile, Perry has openly questioned whether President Obama was born in the United States. When asked by Parade magazine whether he believes Obama's birth certificate is real, Perry said, "I don't have any idea." In an interview yesterday on CNBC, Perry was asked why he brought up the birther issue, and he said, "It's a good issue to keep alive. It's fun to poke at him." Yes, it is. And that's it for the World News Today. Now another thanks to one of our underwriters who supports your only visual video news in the media. That's right, it's us, GVTV News. Poke, poke, poke.
Soundcheck Music Center, the rock and roll connection. We have guitars, amps, drum equipment, sound accessories, lessons, and repairs. We are located at 671 Maltman Drive, Grass Valley. 530-272-7236, open 7 days a week.
That's right, it's time for the police blotter, and pictures in the blotter are not from these actual events but used for visual aid only. Grass Valley Police Department on Sunday, 9:17 a.m. A woman from the 100 block of Mill Street reported theft of an iPhone. And 10:04 a.m., a man reported a man tried to run him off the road at Ridge Road and Rough and Ready Highway and then got out of his vehicle and threatened him. And 1:30 p.m., caller from 300 block of Pleasant Street reported a man and a woman throwing things out a window at each other. They had been arguing about the Raiders game. And 1:52 p.m., a man from Bennett Street was in the emergency room and reported he had been assaulted, but did not want to press charges. Wonder if he'd been watching the Raiders game. 2:09 p.m., a caller from Freeman Lane reported his father threw a lit cigarette at him and beat him. 2:35 p.m., a caller from 100 block of Samantha Way reported the theft of solar lights. And 2:48 p.m., a woman from 400 block of South Auburn Street reported a man hit her. And 4:20 p.m., a woman from 200 block of Sutton Way reported a 16-year-old boy shoved her. He was counseled. And 6:43 p.m., a caller from Elizabeth Daniels Park reported 10 young men partying. And 7:17 p.m., a caller from 100 block of Arcadia Drive reported the dog barks all night, or maybe dogs. 8:39 p.m., a caller from East Main Street reported a woman stole a tip jar and fled. In Nevada County Sheriff's Office on Sunday, 11:37 a.m., a man from 15,000 block of Brewer Road reported finding a partial arrow and blood in his driveway, possibly due to poaching. 11:43 a.m., a caller from Comby Road reported egging and illegal dumping of trash at a store. And 1:24 p.m., a man reported he had been riding with his son on Pioneer Trail and lost him. At 1:43 p.m., he called back to report other riders had located his son. At 2:13 p.m., a caller from Banna Lavacap Road and Valley View Roads reported a man walking in and out of wooded area and looking in vehicles. At 2:31 p.m., a caller from 29,000 block Highway 49 reported vandalism that occurred about 1 a.m. and that was caught on camera. At 3:04 p.m., several callers from the 12,000 block of LeBar Meadow Roads reported a man with long dreadlocks was out of control and running around a yard with a spear gun. And 4:11 p.m., a caller from 13,000 block Lower Colfax Road reported an attempted burglary to a rental property. And 5:19 p.m., a man from 10,000 block Shady Brook Drive reported a property line dispute and threatened to hurt his neighbor if the neighbor damaged his property. And 5:46 p.m., a man from 17,000 block of Huckleberry Drive reported he gave a deposit to a person to install a deck cover, but the business was closed. And 7:14 p.m., a woman reported her husband was out fishing at Deer Creek Falls and was lost. He had started a fire. He was located and given a ride. 7:16 p.m., caller from Black Oak and Crescent Drives reported hearing 2 gunshots. And 8:33 p.m., a girl from Streeter Road reported her stepfather attacked her while he was trying to get her phone. At 9:21 p.m., a caller from 12,000 block Shady Creek Drive reported a woman refusing to leave. 11:06 p.m., a caller reported another woman was causing a disturbance. At 11:12 p.m., a woman reported she was run over by a wheelchair after a disturbance involving a man. And on Monday, 6:09 a.m., that was a hard one to get a picture for. A man from 11,000 block of Butler Road reported vandalism to vehicle tires. At 7:36 a.m., a man from Ivy Lane reported hearing Mexican bandits in front of his house. In Nevada City Police Department on Sunday, 5:10 p.m., a woman from Long Street reported 2 girls were jumping out of vehicles, hitting them with their hands and running off. They were counseled. 8:08 p.m., caller from Pioneer Park reported people staying in a motorhome who had been playing drums and smoking marijuana. At 9:38 p.m., a caller from 200 block of Commercial Street reported a petty theft. And that's it for the blotter today. Now, another thanks to one of our underwriters who supports your only visual video news media in Nevada County. You guessed it, it's us. GVTV News. In today's local news headlines, 3 arrested in Alta Sierra burglaries, and co-defendant sentenced in Wright beating case. A Nevada County man arrested in suspected burglary. In our first local story, written by Liz Keller of the Union, 3 young women, one of them just 16, were arrested in connection with several Alta Sierra burglaries. Saturday morning, several residents of the 14,000 block of Stinson Drive called at about 10:30 a.m. to report the trio were arguing near a vehicle and acting suspiciously, said Nevada County Sheriff Keith Royal. One caller reported seeing a handgun on the center console of the vehicle, a silver Toyota. Another caller reported a woman appeared drunk or on drugs, according to dispatch reports. Driver of the Toyota, identified as Jackie Faith Hurtado, 24, of Grass Valley, allegedly told sheriff deputies that the other 2 women called and asked for a ride. The teen was not identified due to her minor status. The second woman was identified as Erin Nicole Kirkman, 18, of Nevada City. Hurtado denied any knowledge of a gun, but told deputies her passengers might be in possession of a stolen property. Deputies searched the car, found a variety of items from a burglary reported earlier. At 8:30 a.m., a caller from Gold Creek Court had reported the theft of GPS and an iPod from a vehicle, according to dispatch reports. Other items located in the car allegedly included at least 1 more iPod, a cell phone, and DMV paperwork, keys in a plastic box, a Polo brand purse, and a distinctive red and white and blue bag. Some of the items allegedly were linked to a vehicle burglary on Patricia Way, according to dispatch reports. Deputies also found a pellet handgun and drug paraphernalia. All 3 were arrested on suspicion of being in possession of stolen property, criminal conspiracy, and possession of drug paraphernalia. Hurtado and Kirkham were being held in county jail in lieu of $11,000 bail, while the juvenile was being held in juvenile hall. In another Liz Keller story out of the Union, a 19-year-old who sat in the in a getaway car while his friend brutally bludgeoned an 81-year-old Jim Wright, then wiped the weapon clean of blood and fingerprints, was sentenced to 6 months in jail and 5 years probation on Monday. John Cody Adrian was not just accidentally along for the ride during the crime spree that nearly killed the Wildwood Ridge residents, said Nevada County Superior Court Judge Thomas Anderson. Adrian accompanied Dylan McMahon, 22, as he stole a late-model Honda Accord from a woman in Auburn on April 18th before driving to a community outside Lake Wildwood. The 2 were planning a series of residential burglaries to get enough cash to make it to Reno, and went door to door until Wright answered the door at his home. After a short conversation, McMahon left to grab a lug wrench out of the trunk of the car, then came back, hitting Wright repeatedly in the head. Wright suffered a number of cuts on his head, fractured skull, fractured cheekbone, fractured right hand, and broken fingers. Yuba County Sheriff's officers eventually arrested McMahon and Adrian after a high-speed chase that ended in Marysville. In a Nevada County hearing, McMahon pleaded no contest to attempted murder, assault with a deadly weapon, and first-degree residential burglary, and was sentenced to 11 years and 4 months in prison. Adrian pleaded no contest to being an accessory to a felony after the fact. He pleaded no contest to carjacking in Placer County and was sentenced to 365 days in jail and 5 years probation in that case. He will serve his jail time in Nevada County consecutive to the Placer County sentence, but the probation terms will be served concurrently. Jim Wright and his family members chose not to attend Adrian's sentencing, but 2 of Wright's daughters wrote victim impact statements that made it clear they hold him accountable for their father's severe injuries. How could you sit in a car and watch your friend do this to 2 kind, innocent people and do nothing? Asked Karen Wright. Why? Both Karen Wright and her sister, Kelly Small, urged Adrian to turn his life around. Adrian spoke briefly at his sentencing and saying, "I don't know what was going on. It shocked me, and I was there. I really feel bad, and I wanted to express how sorry I am." Sorry for all the noise in the background, but somebody's making a bunch of noise in our studio. Assistant District Attorney Anna Ferguson urged Anderson to sentence Adrian to a year in jail, noting he continued participation in a chain of events where violence has the probable likely outcome. Anderson, however, concurred that the probation reports that it advocated 180 days in part, he said, because of Adrian's age and lack of prior criminal history, and because this gave him the opportunity to have Adrian under supervision for 5 years. Adrian's probation terms included random drug testing, search and seizure, no alcohol use, or entering a bar, substance abuse counseling, and self-help meetings and taking medications as prescribed. He was diagnosed as bipolar with Asperger's syndrome as a young teen. I hope you realize that a serious offense this is, Anderson told Adrian. It's by the grace of God you're not here on a felony murder. Your life on probation going to be more difficult and restrictive and difficult than your time in jail. A Grass Valley woman helped nab a suspected burglar after hearing him on the roof of her apartment building. The woman, who lives in 200 block of Depot Street, called 911 at about 11:25 p.m. Friday to report a person possibly on her roof, according to police dispatch reports. Grass Valley police officers responded and caught sight of a man in dark clothing inside a vacant apartment in the building, said Captain Rex Marks. The man, identified as Nevada City resident Matthias Calvin Pettyjohn, 21, was arrested on suspicion of burglary and outstanding warrant. He was held in county jail in lieu of a $26,000 bail. And that's it today for our local news. GVTV News would like to thank Associated Press, Reuters, Amy Goodman, the Union, and others for the sourcing of our news. And you for watching. Don't forget, we are broadcast 3 times a day on public access NCTV, Comcast Cable Channel 11, and Suddenlink Channel 16 in Truckee and Alta Sierra. 8 a.m., 3 p.m., and 7:30 p.m. Monday through Friday, and random Saturday and other times. Check the website schedule. We are streamed daily on NevadaCountyTV.org and video on demand there, and also our websites, GVTV.org and GrassValleyTelevision.com. Oh, we're not using that anymore. Rural Counties Television Network.ning.com. And talk to you tomorrow. Should be Thursday.